Today we're going to be talking about scalping your lawn. This is ideal to do in the springtime, right when you've got about half the grass has started to green up. You want it to be greening up so that it can recover quickly after we go ahead and scalp it. Now, I'm a little later than that. It's currently now late April or so, and my grass has really started to green up pretty nicely, as you can see here, so it's definitely ready for a good scalp. Now, truth be told, I actually did this a couple of weeks ago with a rotary mower, but I couldn't get that rotary mower to go down low enough. The lowest it would go was down to an inch height of cut, and I really wanted it to go much shorter than that, just to leave just a little bit of the crown on the Zoysia there. I don't want to cut the crown, and I don't want to cut through any of the stolons on top of the surface there. So I wasn't happy with that. I didn't end up publishing the video, so we're going to give it another shot. This time, I'm just going to use my Reel Mower, and I'm going to take it down to a ½ an inch height of cut, which is as low as I possibly can go right now with what I've got available for rotary and reel mowers. Now, something to be careful about with a reel mower. You need to really go around and clean up your yard. Pick up any sticks, any rocks, things like that that are in your yard. I've got an oyster shell driveway, and those things get all over my grass, especially anytime I blow off the driveway. So I got to go around and pick up a bunch of those to make sure that I don't end up damaging the reel. Now, as I said, you want to make sure your grass is probably at least 50% greened up before you do this, so that it can easily recover from the scalp. But the scalp is one of the best things you can do for a warm season grass. This is the first time I'm ever really scalping it down to a ½ an inch or so. So we'll see how it comes out. I wish I could take it lower again. And just remember, don't cut the crowns off and don't cut the stolons off. We need those to still be available for the grass to recover. Now, a couple other things to think about. You might have to do a couple of passes. You might have to lower your height of cut in stages as you go. Generally, you like to cut off no more than 1/3 of the blade. You might have to take it down to an inch or 3/4 of an inch, something like that, and then get it down to the lowest possible setting you can get it. The goal being taking it all the way down to the dirt if you can, while still leaving that crown or any of the stolons on top of the surface there. Again, I can't get it that low, at least not today. Another important thing to think about is you want to go ahead and make sure you bag up all the clippings, all right? The reason we're doing this scalping is we want to take all that kind of weathered, hard, woody, almost like grass blade that's been there all winter long, and we want to get rid of all that so that the grass really now has room to kind of spread out and grow, and hopefully it'll take off like wildfire. We don't want to leave all that stuff there on the grass, because then it's basically just going to turn into thatch. So let's go ahead and get all that out of here. You can either bag the clippings, or if you don't have the ability to bag them, you're going to need to blow them up or rake them up or whatever it is you do afterwards to get those clippings off the lawn. I've got my Webb WEH12R here, and you see I've got the bag attachment on it right here to go ahead and try to pick up as many of those clippings as I can. I'll probably still come around with the blower and blow the lawn off as well, just to ensure I get any of the rest of them off. Okay, and then once you get done, you probably want to go ahead and apply some fertilizer to it. Some nice sort of spring starter fertilizer will work well, something like a 16-4-8 or somewhere along those lines. And then you also just want to make sure you water the lawn really well, okay? Looking for at least, probably a ½ an inch of watering at a time if you've got Zoysia, right? For a fixed head spray pattern, that's going to be like 15 minutes at a time. And then for any of the rotary heads, probably in the 30 to 40 minute window at a time. But you need to make sure you water and fertilize that lawn really well also. Now, the whole point of scalping is so that we can get more sunlight down to the soil, and that's going to allow that soil to warm up faster. I'm kind of past that stage already because, like I said, I did this a couple of weeks ago and it didn't quite turn out as good as I wanted, but I wanted to go ahead and do it again because I'm doing this so that I can then go and scarify my lawn here in another couple more days, with the goal being that I'm going to sand level it here shortly for the first time. Now, one downside is that once you scalp it and you expose a lot more of that soil, that obviously means you expose it to a lot more potential for weeds. So you need to have a good game plan as far as what you're going to do for pre-emergence, right? Hopefully you already put that down many weeks ago when the soil temperature was below 55, and then just having a game plan for post-emergence in case you have any of those weeds pop up where any of those kind of bare soil spots are in your yard, or once we take it down enough and a lot of that soil is now bare after the scalping, or it just doesn't have near as much shade on it. Because remember, you're not going to have near as much grass there to outcompete with the weeds and block the sunlight from getting to the weeds. So much higher potential for having some weeds after you scalp it. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to do a pass. I'm going to go around and pick up everything out of my yard, and then I'm going to go ahead at it with the Reel Mower. Right now I've got it set down to a ½ an inch height of cut using the large aftermarket monster roller from Ronaldo Camacho. And I'm just going to go nice and slow, make sure I don't damage the reel, and I'm going to try to take it down as low as possible. I've adjusted down my roller to make it the lowest height of cut possible. You see it's on the bottom of the 3 notches there. And this is with the super roller that Ronaldo Camacho has as an aftermarket that he supplies, as well as the brackets to hold it. All right, so I've had a couple passes at it down at a 1/2 inch height of cut, and it's going okay. My yard's not the most level, so that's not awesome. It causes the the mower to get bound up a little bit. Again, not ideal necessarily to use your reel mower, but I don't know of many rotary mowers that'll go that low. I actually researched it, and there's only one that'll generally cut down to a 1/2 inch. So I'm going with the reel mower. I'm just being really careful with it. Make sure I don't hit any rocks, anything like that. Another thing to think about is how fast you're going to fill up your bag if you are indeed bagging your clippings. One pass up and down my yard, and you see how quickly it fills up. Things to watch out for. I've got a mole problem. That's what all these dirt tracks are, right? Mole tunnels in there. So that makes it difficult with a reel mower. That's what the orange flags are. I got a guy actually comes by and puts down a ton of traps and takes them out of here. I've done it myself, but it's just a pain. And turns out sometimes the mole problem is so bad that I need someone to do it. Now, just to get an idea of the cut, you can see on the right side is where I've cut it now at a 1/2 inch, and on the left side is what needs to be cut. I let it get longer than I normally would. So all in all, that's about as low as I'm gonna get it, at least for now. I'm gonna come around and scarify it here within the next couple days. But quite a difference between this pre-cut to this after scalping it. All right, so I'm done with the front yard, scalped everything. You can see what it looks like now. Quite a bit more yellow than it was before, since I took a lot of that green off that was on the top. Again, a reel mower. This thing put in a ton of work today. It's not awesome doing this with a reel mower. Highly recommend a rotary if you can get one that'll go low enough. I just couldn't. So if you guys got any ideas on how to get a rotary mower to go down below 1 inch or so, or even down to a 1/2 inch, let me know. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what all we picked up today. Got the bag on the mower, picked up this many grass clippings. All right, lots and lots of stuff. Now again, this is greener than what it's probably going to be when you do it in the ideal time frame of March or so, because again, I did it with the rotary mower, wasn't happy with it, and came back later, and now I'm doing it again with the reel mower, obviously after cleaning up the yard really well, making sure there's not any sticks, rocks, things like that that are going to end up hurting the reel. And I was just going really slow and being really careful with it. Now, how often can you do a height of cut reset like this and scalp your lawn? Well, again, the ideal time is in the early spring once you got about 50% green up or so, but you can really do it anytime you've got enough time for the grass to recover fully before it goes dormant. Now, I wouldn't probably do it past midsummer or so, and then there's a potential that the grass is going to be stressed and it might not recover as well. Anyways, you might kind of shock the grass by scalping it and taking it down this low. I'm going to stick to the spring time frame for it, at least for a good scalp like this. All right, let's get a look at how we did here. We didn't take any of the crown off any of the grass. Very clear to see that. I don't think I broke any stolons or anything like that. So all in all, I think it looks pretty good. Again, I wish I could have gone lower, but the actual, height that's left on the grass is maybe 1/2 inch at tops there. So all in all, happy with that. There's a good picture of what it looks like now afterwards. You can see how much green really came off the top of that.